Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to Teach Talk, first show of this semester. We've got a live thing going over here today.
With our stories on Instagram. If you guys aren't following us yet on Instagram, come follow us on Instagram and Twitter. That's new for this year, at Teach Talk 208.
Hi, Twitter folks.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that means. I am AJ.
I'm Lisa.
And we are your Teach Talk hosts. This show that was created just in first show last spring. It was created as a way to dialogue with pre-service teachers, in-service teachers, parents, community members, citizens, folks who want to talk about education and schooling. It's supposed to be, remember the tagline, Lisa?
Authentic. Take it for what it's worth. Discussion on education. We want to hear from you guys. We want to hear from everybody. Your questions, your concerns, your exciting celebrations.
Yeah, and we really, I said dialogue already. We want it to be a dialogue. It's supposed to be a safe place for that open conversation about teaching, learning, schooling, education. It's a question and answer show. We want people to call in, write in.
Right.
And we've got a bunch of questions.
We have so many new questions. It's very exciting.
Yeah, people were awesome about writing in sort of before the show started. This season. Season 2 of Teach Talk.
And we have questions from last season.
Season 1 of Teach Talk. So I think you should know, Lisa and I are both, we consider ourselves to be teacher educators, clinical practitioners. As former classroom teachers and administrators ourselves, we now work with pre-service teachers out in schools. We work with master's students who are practicing teachers. We work with principals, and we love our jobs.
We love our jobs.
The opportunity we have to still work with students in schools, but work with students at the university as well. So we hope we're staying relevant. And I think part of the show also is to make sure we all do stay relevant and involved in the conversations that we maybe don't have every day because we're so caught up in the hustle bustle. And we include you in that. There was a conversation yesterday with mentor teachers who are hosting pre-service teachers in the classroom. There was this conversation about how wonderful it would be to be able to spend purposeful time on facilitating professional vision with pre-service teacher candidates, but that the other two functions of a mentor, which include providing support or offering support and providing challenge, that's where we end up living with our own students in P-12 classrooms as well. Like, we got to get going. When's the next lesson? How do we get to recess? Like, what time's the game after school?
Capacity. Yeah, it's capacity and resources, time.
A lot of people say they'd love to just sit down and kind of chat about education.
That's what we're here for.
We're hoping to offer that space, and I guess we do most of the talking. But the more you call in and stuff, the more you're involved.
And the happier we are.
Yeah.
Let's go into a question.
Yeah, let's do a question.
Are you ready?
So we don't see these questions. Again, first show of the season. We don't look at these questions before we go live on air. It makes us vulnerable. We are probably trying to model that vulnerability, but also it's supposed to be authentic. So we didn't do any studying. We're ready to rock and roll, whatever comes up.
Question 1. Ready?
Lisa wants me to stop introducing.
Subtle. Okay. I feel comfortable-ish teaching math for elementary level, but I'm really scared and I'm feeling unprepared to teach middle school math. How do I get help with that? I'm good at upper level math, but I don't know how to teach it.
Okay, we have to explore some assumptions.
Right.
This is an elementary education
candidate
who is getting their endorsement
probably
to be highly qualified in mathematics.
Right.
And is like, dude, 2nd grade, totally get it. And I totally think I get 8th grade, 9th grade math, but I'm not sure I know how to teach 8th and 9th graders. That's a guess.
Teach it. Right. How to teach the content, probably.
Yeah.
I heard teaching content, not teaching students.
Well, then we need to start there.
That's what I heard from the question. There's always a bit of an intimidation factor when we get up into junior high and high school. And I think it's because the content gets more difficult. And so we therefore sometimes just doubt our capabilities, even though we know we're perfectly capable, perhaps. Or maybe that's going to be a point of professional development for this candidate. That I need to become more familiar with my understanding and my skills in math. So I'm going to seek out that additional professional development training, tutoring. I mean, you have free tutoring here on campus. There's a starting point if it's your abilities you're concerned about.
Yeah, so I'm trying to pull up our feed here, so in case anyone dialogues, but I'm clearly doing it wrong. So can you make sure that we can see if anyone's writing in?
Yes.
Well, because I don't know how to
respond to your question.
Yeah. So no, I do want to respond. I wonder about the teaching students versus teaching content. So I'm trying to pull up our feed here. Be careful with that. Technology is always going to be an issue. To answer the question, I guess yes. You should have a little bit of trepidation about any grade level or content area you go into.
Right.
That balance of confidence and humility. Some of you have heard me say that before. I've got a couple catchphrases. That's one of them. We'll save the other ones for when it's time. But that little bit of, ooh, I'm not sure I'm great at this.
Right.
I need to learn. That's the inquiry stance that we constantly talk about, right? So first of all, I want you to give yourself a break, whomever this is. Give yourself a break. It's appropriate to be worried about it. Second of all, remember that you are teaching students. So I'm so glad you said that. If you're a teacher candidate, you like working with students. Right. And there is a potential misconception out there, like, kindergartners are scary. Seventh graders are scary. Right. And yes, we all do have our areas where maybe we're better than others. But when we start with a caring approach, with a relational approach, with the approach of trust, like, hey, seventh graders, I'm here to teach you and work with you on math. You'd be amazed at how many dividends that pays, right? And I guess we don't need a financial model there, but like, especially if you're comfortable, like going back to the question, you're comfortable with the mathematics, right? So are you not comfortable building relationships with students? My guess is that's not a challenge. My guess is you actually are, but you just see it more clearly with younger kids. Right.
Well, and there's a general, what you learn about in your methods courses or in your training, wherever you are, should be this group or, this group, I suppose, of evidence-based practices that we know when we teach students, those kinds of things work, particularly in special education when we're teaching content areas and we're spanning so many different ability levels that don't tend to be on grade level. We know there's a particular set of instructional practices that, regardless of what you implement them into, what content area, you are more likely to gauge and find student success. And so if you stick with what you do know about evidence-based practices and those practices that we know need to go into effective lesson design, you're going to start from a very comfortable place. And so then your ability to know your students, which is one of my catchphrases, is going to help you scaffold, and it's going to help you accommodate, and it's going to better your ability to teach from your perspective based on their strengths, their preferences, and their needs for learning. So
pre-assessment probably plays a role in that. But I think also, and here's something that teacher candidates, those of you who are pre-service teachers or going to a new school or a new grade level, lean on mentors. One of the reasons you're in a teacher education program, or when you go to a new school, new district, new grade level, the district and school provide a mentor, right? Someone, lean on that person for things that are pedagogically sound for that grade level. But what I see working with pre-service teacher candidates is 9.8 times out of 10, that's an official statistic, a student who is very, very nervous about going into a new grade level or a new building finds, oh, wow, this is cool. I dig it. Now, I may want to actually still teach that other grade level that I thought I wanted to teach. So I just want to caution you not to be too hard on yourself. You've got a lot of, well, and it's not that simple, right? It's not that simple. Lean on mentors. Ask, like, hey, is this pedagogically sound for this grade level? And ask the kids too. You know, kids are actually fairly forgiving. Lisa and I have worked in many different contexts, and like, I feel very comfortable saying, I don't think I've really ever seen a context where kids writ large are like, you suck as a teacher. If you approach them with trust and care and legitimate, like, hey guys, let's try this. They'll let you know, like, hey, this is kind of like what we did in 4th grade. And okay, so you adapt that flexibility. Hey, and Danielson. Hey, Danielson.
And that gives them ownership in their learning, which will increase their respect and your rapport with them in the classroom and with one another, and creating a safe environment where they feel vulnerable and excited for their learning. So I think just trust yourself, trust your training, know your people, trust the students, include the students in that process, and then reflect and refine.
Ooh, yeah, that one, the R's. One last thing to add to that.
Go.
if you've got like a lesson plan or hey, this is the content. I think this is how I would do it with 7th graders. But again, I'm really good in 1st grade. That's just a kind of a guess. Send it to us. We would love to look at it. We would love to sort of analyze it live on air with other teachers, share it with our listeners, go through it, and have junior high teachers like chime in. Because that was the question, right? It was about like, I'm going to have to teach in junior high.
I'm comfortable at the elementary, not so much at the junior level.
We could have junior high teachers like comment and say, here's what you might want to try. Yes. I mean, we'll do that every week. That's an amazing thing for Teach Talk to provide and dialogue. And so grab a lesson plan, write it up. Even if it's just like, here's some objectives and I think I might do it this way. It doesn't have to be official. Don't worry about us critiquing it.
Right.
It can be a great reflective tool for all of us. And I know some junior high teachers and junior high math teachers who we can specifically ask, will you tune in and participate? We can maybe bring one in as a guest. We could have one analyzed from afar. We can do that. Before you go to the next question, really important quick question just came in from a student. It's a quickie.
Okay.
It's a quickie. Should I wear rain boots to school today?
No.
From a current student, teacher, and intern. The answer is no. Okay. I have a slightly different answer.
Okay,
Ready?
go for it.
Sure, but bring a pair of shoes to change.
That's what I was going to say. So if you're going to go out on recess and you're going to hang out with the kids or do recess duty, swap it out. There are so many times people do not know that I carry a second set of shoes in my purse.
As a cyclist, I've usually got a second pair of shoes as well, right?
So I would say when you're in the professional setting, when you're inside the building, wear your professional shoes. When you're outside coming in and out of the building, rain boots are appropriate.
Dance shoes for dancing, right? That's what I was doing. Dance shoes for dancing.
Wasn't sure.
That's how I dance.
So
I learned it from my dad. Dad, if you're watching, this is what you do. That's how you dance.
Sidebar. What I would say too is, maybe this is just me, but I try to, as I was in the classroom as well, when I went shopping for my clothes, I would consider all of the elements that teaching require, and I would shop accordingly.
And you brought like 7 pairs of shoes to school with you. No, comfortable yet functional. And here's, and this was supposed to be quick, and now Lisa and I are going to tangent because that's what we do. But this, right? We want to focus on students always, right? Students first. And so rain boots to get to school because maybe you ride your bike or you walk or there's puddles in the parking lot and you're thinking about recess or you're thinking I want to get outside. And those are all great reasons for rain boots. Rain boots around the classroom, maybe not as practical, maybe not as professional looking, depending on your environment. When you are a teacher, if you are a practicing teacher, totally your call. Do what you want to do and stay within the dress code. As a pre-service teacher, you probably need to go that one step further in acting and being professional so that people see that way. Now, I also want to add, and so I would go with wear your rain boots, bring professional shoes. Rain boots are for outside. I've got a friend whose kid wears his fireman boots like all the time. It's hilarious, but I don't know if but it's adorable, and it's adorable, and that's my point. Ready? As teacher candidates, pre-service teachers, people still in looking cute has to be so low on your priority list. And I say this respectfully, not just to the caller or the texter, to everyone.
Right.
This is a hard one because we do have self-efficacy and self-image and those things, and I guess I want to look a certain way and make sure I present myself in certain ways. For some of us, that includes looking handsome, looking cute. I'm not saying it disparagingly. I get it. We have to feel good about ourselves. This is really important. And we always say when you shop or borrow clothes or whatever, cute's got to be lower, handsome's got to be lower on your priority list. And I know how hard that is. Comfort's important. But something like rain boots, you wouldn't wear them year round. And yay, great opportunity to wear them. I get it. Be mindful of how you're doing it. And I want to leave it at that without beating anyone up. And Lisa went to the simple no, and I'm going to push back a little bit. I don't think it's a simple no. You have to be professional.
Not
and
in
I'm
the
not
classroom,
saying, just think through where is looking cute and my outfit on the priority list. That has nothing to do with kids. Actually, tangent. There's a lot of research that shows that kids perform better and behave better if they like their teacher and find their teacher to be attractive. That's true. It's actually very true. And the younger the kid is, the more they're like, oh my gosh, my teacher's pretty. I'm going to do whatever she asks me to do. Or he is handsome and therefore he's strong and big. And that gets into a whole other conversation about intimidation and the male in schools. I mean, gosh, we could wax poetic forever. We're not going to. Simple answer.
Would you wear it to an interview would be my question. Would you wear it to a job interview? Because when we send our teacher candidates into the building, that is what you're doing. You're on a year-long interview, and we tell you that, but somewhere along the way, we're really tired and we're over capacity. And then we see our mentor teachers who are dress more casually than we are. If you wouldn't wear rain boots to an interview, I'd say bring the extra pair of shoes.
I've actually been caught outside an interview, like changing my cycling
outside
shoes
of the interview, though, was the key.
Into professional shoes, and had someone say, you know, you don't need to do that. Yep. But I did it because I'm going that extra mile, right? Good.
Right.
Let's go to the next question.
Can I just say really quickly, jeggings do not equal pants.
I don't know what that word is. So you're going to have to define your terms.
Jeggings or leggings.
What is the J for?
Jean leggings. Is that correct, ladies?
Oh.
So those that you try to wear as
that might be a whole show too about leggings.
We're going to go to the next question.
Great question.
Consider what you're putting out there and presenting as yourself. Okay, ready for the next question?
Yes, I'm responding to this real quickly.
College life consumes us kids. We consider you adults. We have classes.
This is a pre-service teacher.
This is a pre-service teacher. We have classes, extracurricular, jobs, and a social life. I struggle with balancing them all now.
This is not just for the pre-service teacher.
Well, I'm trying to scroll over.
Uh-huh.
Let's see. I struggle with balancing them all now, and I'm not even a real teacher yet. You're a teacher candidate. We love you for your language. How did you transition, balance the load during college, but mostly after when you were in the classroom full time? Go first, because I have so much to say on this one.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Remember, you were like 4 questions today. We're gonna get like 1.
2 questions.
What an awesome question.
Good
and you
question.
may have seen me chuckle. And here's my chuckle. I really believe this, right? So there's bias, like everything. And for those of you who are new listeners, you ought to know that Lisa and I are not always going to agree. If you haven't noticed already, we are going to push back on one another. I'm probably going to go to some philosophical base often, and Lisa's going to be more practical often. But we may switch roles as well. That's why we thought we should have this together, because we're going to. So here it is. Those who struggle with balance tend to always struggle with balance. Those who tend to fill their plates as high school students or college students also do so as real adults in the real world. And again, I'm not mocking. I think that it's one of the most fascinating things philosophically to me is this idea that school is not the real world somehow. There's this other world, and school's not a part of it.
Because we're attaining.
Yeah. We're always becoming, though. We are always. So my answer is, if you struggle with balance, so proud of you for that self-awareness, right? That recognition, that self-reflection. You will most likely always struggle with balance unless you start to address it now. So we develop habits of mind and habits of action and the way we do things. And college is a wonderful place to say, this habit I have, it doesn't feel healthy, and I'm worried about it in the future and in the present. So then let's address it. So that would take us to our next step of what can you do now? But what we don't want you to do, and we're not saying this was in the question, is think, I'm not good at balance now, but I'm only not good at balance because I have to balance school and no, because later it's going to be family. Later it's going to be the second job. Later it's going to be friends down the street.
Program,
it's going to, there's always going to be something if you're someone. So the thing is balance. Right now, you've recognized what those things you're trying to balance are. Let's talk about it.
I despise that word balance, not you. There is no such thing as balance. Let me just say that now. He's dancing again. There's no such.
But striving.
There's no such. I did this. I didn't mean to do that. There is no such thing as balance. There is flexibility, adaptability, and being able to recognize your current stage in life. I think so often, and I'm going to get philosophical a little bit
again
here.
With the finger.
Sorry, I'm so excited. I'm speaking emphatically.
And I keep
there is no such thing as a balanced life. There are strategies, there are tools, there are people and community around you who can help. But this ideal that we put in our head about balance and wow, that woman is so balanced. How does she work full time and teach and do this and have 5 kids or gosh, this man is teaching college courses and he's a full-time teacher and he's being a mentor. How do they balance it? They don't. You have people around you who support you and love you in what you're doing. There are times in life where you are going to be so far unbalanced that you striving towards that becomes a little bit of an idol to you. It becomes this unattainable, reachable thing where we may or may not be setting us up for an unrealistic and very discouraging for our heart
I'm finally with
kind
you.
of ideal, that balance is attainable in every stage of life, that balance is attainable. If we continue to reach for that, we are not in our present moment, and we are not appreciating the beauty around us. Therefore, we identify strategies and coping skills and people around us who can support us in the new crazy. There's always some new stage in life that we have to adapt to, but accept and see the beauty in. If we're continuing to strive for the ideal of balance, we're not in the present moment, and we're not adapting accordingly and providing ourselves that flexibility.
I dig that.
And so an example of my life, when I was pregnant with my little girl, I was going through my doc program, and I was reading 200 pages of a night in summer classes and walking up and down the stairs reading so I didn't fall asleep while I was reading. And that was an intense time of life. And then she was born, and I was trying to go through my research project and all of those things. And I had a husband, and I have family, and I have colleagues and students who count on me and love me and support me. Things I had to do were strategies like making sure I got my workouts in, making sure that my husband and my daughter got full attention when they needed to before everybody else, making sure I got outside every day, making sure that I was eating and contacting one colleague a week to say, how are you doing? Not how am I doing? So those are strategies.
So I'm a checklist item. Okay.
He's not a checklist item. Thanks for belittling my life's work.
No, I was actually going to checklist and prioritizing, right? So I'm fascinated by your answer, and at first I was thinking of all the ways I could like retort, and then I decided to shut up, calm my inner voice, and actually listen to you, which was hard.
The difference between listening and hearing.
Yeah, well, no, I'm being serious. Like I was all geared up, like, okay, I've got my response. I'm going to give Lisa. We're gonna. I think you're right. And I also, your answer scares me. And I wonder if it scares some folks too, because this idea of becoming, this idea of seeking balance, that balance is this ideal. Because I was thinking like, well, there's cultures out there where balance is like one of their biggest virtues and values, and they ground themselves in this, right? But yes, they're always trying to attain it by being present. So I wonder if I could argue, and I'm not going to actually, it's not worth it. It's a great conversation though, in my mind, for us all to think about and discuss. What does balance mean for me? What does seeking to obtain balance mean for me? What do I have to let go? Relinquishment. We talked about this a little bit as a value. You and I did off air. What do I have to let go of to achieve to seek what balance means to me? I can't be all things to all people at all times. The classic,
say that again.
I can't be all things to all people at all times, nor should I strive to be, right? I said to Lisa this morning, I'm just going to tell them, I said I need a work enema. Like, I feel like there's so much, like I'm so backed up on work, yet this morning we both said, but we're finding much joy in our work. So like things will get done, and we're finding joy in our lives too. Because
it's good things we're blessed to be a part of.
Oh,
we
my
find
goodness.
the beauty in it. And that needs to trump the idea that everything will get done. Well, for a different reason.
So I want to, so I want to think about how you're using the word balance, but also how the writer the questioner is using the word balance. And what is the word? Yeah. What is the word you're looking? Because you don't like the word balance. Whereas I kind of love it. I'm going, you know what? I'm not going to spend 3 hours doing this today, although I wanted to. I'm only going to spend 2 hours so that I could spend an hour and a half doing this. Now, technically, is that balance? No, there was an extra half hour over here, right? But prioritizing and starting with, and I really believe this, and I think this is practical. What do you value most?
Our time, our energy, our resources go into the things we value the most.
But you individually, like spend time writing that down, reflecting. Family, school, like, because well, that's what we're trying to balance, right? Family, school, life, whatever, and relinquishment. The reason I bring in relinquishment, which is a term that I don't know that we use that much. It's a new one for me in terms of using it as part of my daily dialogue. What can I let go of? Because I just can't be that to that person right now. And how do I communicate it? Student teachers. So to this question, student teachers often ask us like similar questions, and I sometimes say things like, hey, listen, your peers right now, they're not in a professional preparation program. Some of them, right? Some of them are, but some of them are getting a degree. You're getting a degree and a license, or 2 licenses perhaps. You're getting up every day, perhaps 3 days a week, putting on professional clothes without rain boots. And they're like sweatpants, rolling to class. I've got some, and so some of
priorities, different realities.
Yeah, but so like there are times you have to say to your friends, hey, listen, for the next couple of weekends, I might not be partying as much as I may have, or I may not go on that trip because this is more important to me right now. And there may be a time when you say to Lisa or to me, you know, I really want to work on this weekend, but I'm going to take my family's coming in.
I'm tapped out.
I have a student teacher right now who, like, mom and dad are coming into town from the East Coast for the week.
Yeah. So homework will happen later.
By all means, don't go to your internship today. Way to plan 2 weeks ago. And you went to your internship yesterday. And have a great week with your folks. Try to swing by your school with them and show them the wonderful work you're doing. And you know what? You know what I'm going to let go of? I'm worried about how your inquiry project is going. And we'll talk on Monday when your parents leave. And all will be well. Because you're trying to balance and you're becoming and you're seeking. We have to let go of things.
And it doesn't change as you get older. It doesn't change just because now you're in a professional program and then you'll move out into being a professional, a real teacher. That doesn't change and it never stops. It is into adulthood and we will experience it for the rest of our lives. When new people come into the family or when big events happen or when you switch jobs, those things don't change. It's just your new normal. I think I found a lot for myself that I was seeking out. This is going to get back to normal. This is going to go back to normal.
This is not growth mindset too.
It's a new normal, and you have to find the joy and the beauty in the new normal, or you're going to seek out something unattainable and be very disappointed in it.
And this isn't teaching specific, but I think that teachers as caring individuals are potentially more prone to things like this. But this is about growth mindset too, right? Like, and here's why. If you're seeking something because you think there's an end point, like when I become a teacher, I'm going to have balance. No, and I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing with you because
we've been there. We're still there.
So what does balance mean to you and for you? And then to the very practical, how can we help you? Right. So we want you to start with balance. We want others to chime in on this. But I'm sorry. Start with values. Start with what do I value? What are my priorities? And build from there. And ask us and your mentors and others. And really, this is why we want people to chime in, write in, text in, call us, tell us some of your strategies.
Find your strategies.
Mine is list making. One of mine
prioritizing.
One of mine is list making, and one of mine is, and here's a really complicated word, so get ready to write this one down. You're going to have to look it up. Ready? No. As in, no, I can't do that.
Hard.
No, I don't want to do that. Now, this year, I'm practicing yes. Because I tend to push aside social things because I'm too tired and I know I have work to do. But I also know that those social interactions with friends and people I care about fill me up in ways that, like, it's hard to get off the couch and go. But right now I've got 36 papers to grade and I'm tired. So I'm really good at saying no personally. And I'm really bad at saying no professionally. I'm really good at saying yes professionally. Sure, let me look at, I think I could squeeze that. And I've got 3 minutes between that meeting in West Ada and that meeting in Boise. Totally. I could do that. Yes,
Let's do a phone call.
I need to practice saying no and or how can we do this differently? Let's do a phone call. And then I need to do the other direction personally. Some of us say yes too much personally, especially as college students. As a college student, I said yes personally too much, and I should have said no more. So 2 new words, yes and no, and think about how we use them.
And find your people and find your strategies. And I tell my candidates all the time, habits you create now will remain habits later. So when you find priority in eating right and taking care of your body and spending time with family and friends, make those a priority enough to create a habit out of it, because that won't go away. It will become one of your lifestyles. Research shows like 1 month of doing something on a habitual basis will create a long-term habit. And so look at how you can do that. And fringe hours is what I call the in-between. Like I have an hour here or 30 minutes here at the end of my day. Use those purposefully.
Self-care.
Yes, self-care is big.
We could go on this forever. So let's not. Allow yourself those space. And try not to beat yourself up too much, right? Let's go to another one. Okay. And thank you. And continue to dialogue with us.
Good question. We could talk about it all day. Okay. What can we actually do
I don't get to read any of this.
Do you want to read it?
No, it's really hard for me to read in that format. Yeah.
Okay. What can we actually do to improve the school system as individual teachers?
Bum, bum, bum.
So big.
So big yet so small. You want to start on this one? Or you want
Well, actually, that's a good segue into what I would say is this system is so big.
Public education.
The public education system is very big. There are many things you can do to get involved. You can do many things. What AJ said about it, it is very big, yet it is very small. You know what the most meaningful, purposeful, and very impactful thing you can do is be a great teacher and love children on an individual basis and on a daily basis, and every new year start that year understanding that those little people in the seats, or big people, whoever you're teaching, that's somebody's everything, and it's an individual person, and they are to be treated with such love and respect for what you're giving them. I think I go around and around and around on this idea. Like, I wish I could change so much, particularly in special ed when we're an unfunded mandate and have always been, and there's lack of resources, and I can go on and on. Those children are who need me. The children on an individual basis is where I can make my most meaningful impact, and that would be my opinion. On a larger scale.
That was really good.
Yeah, I
think for me, right, it starts with these questions. What are the purposes of public schooling? Like,
right.
I think you need to get to that
right.
personally. What do you believe the purpose is to be, and what are you working toward? And then what can your role be in that? And I do want to push those of us who are practicing teachers, those of us who are pre-service teachers, those of us who are citizens and parents and once were teachers or going to whatever, figure out what your role is. This comes back to prioritizing probably, but you know, sometimes pre-service teachers will say, you know, oh, I just want to affect one student. If I could just, that's not enough, right? But the idea of one student at a time, and the idea of promoting things that you value and that our public education system values and espouses, that's bigger than you might think. Sometimes in public education and public schooling, we spend too much time fighting back against things we don't like. For instance, bullying. We spend a lot of time anti-bullying. Some of you listeners have probably heard me rant about
in the
this.
Last decade, really.
And what we're doing is we're putting more energy into that term bullying.
Yes.
So what's the opposite of what are the opposites of bullying? What are the things you believe and espouse and value? Maybe kindness, maybe camaraderie, whatever those things are. Spend time promoting those things. But also think about how you're involved in your community and with other people. Think outside your classroom. And again, your plate gets more full as we go there, right? But how are you involved in politics? How are you involved in local elections, national elections, school boards, the community writ large, the people that live next door to you? How much interaction is there, right? So how can we make a change in such a big system? There's all kinds of cliches and quotes about, you know, I don't know, it's the change starts with you, one step, blah, blah, blah. Like and those exist for a reason. Realizing your purpose and the purpose that you believe the schooling system serves, and then defining and trying to take on realistic roles. Realistic roles that you can handle, not settling, continuing to examine. Continuing to examine, question self, question system. I really believe this. And I mean, the action steps really are: don't get caught in the distractions. Don't become complacent. I'm going to, you know, this is probably going to turn some people off, but Noam Chomsky, a known linguist and political commentator, talks about necessary illusions, as do others, right? But this idea that there are a lot of things that are distracting us, the media, right? And a new term is fake news. It's not really new. Chomsky and others have been talking about this for decades. And said, like, this isn't new, that there are lots of things, depending on what you believe, designed to distract us and that happen to distract us. If we can focus on what we value, what we believe, what our purpose is, continuously trying to become and collaborating, I think there's something to be said for the collective as well. And I know I'm on a philosophical rant right now, but there's something to be said for the collective and the role that building a collective of not like-minded folks, of minded folks that are challenging one another in respectful ways in order to build knowledge, understanding, and community You can't see
I
that.
have a quote I'll read. Go ahead, though.
No, go
This is from White Teacher.
Oh,
the book White Teacher. This is the way we shall advance, one voice at a time, explaining what is important about ourselves. I keep that on my computer screen.
Yeah, Vivian Paley. Vivian
valuable.
Paley. The book is White Teacher. Sorry,
Right.
I didn't mean to cut you off.
Good.
The book is White Teacher by Vivian Paley. She learns a lot as a teacher. She's reflective. But I think building the collective is important because it's really hard, again, thinking about overwhelming. It's really hard to think of like, I'm just one voice.
Right.
But finding, again, not like-minded, but maybe like-minded and that willing to collaborate and willing to building community. And I think that history has shown nationally, locally, and even globally that building a collective toward a common understanding, a common value, and notice I didn't say common agreement.
Yes.
Common understanding we're working toward, we value, maybe it's human rights, maybe that's the big thing. And then what does that look like in our community? How do we develop citizens that could do that in our school? And then how do we teach our lessons to do that? That's a nice backward design, big to small type of thing. I hope this isn't overly theoretical. You have to think about what you're doing on a daily basis, but to what end? What are you serving? And with whom are you serving that?
Right. And that can be in your classroom. I mean, if so have your own brain and be very, very proud of it. Do your homework and understand the rights and the roles that you can play in different legislative processes or different things that you want to do in your class. Those things can happen at any level. If you are a person who is very comfortable and committed to the classroom environment in that school community and who you can be as a teacher leader within it, it's great. Because the person down the hall might be more active in legislation. It's like a body, and we're all one part of that body who makes up this wonderful powerful force that we can, and we all have different capacity.
At different times.
So going back to the seasons of life thing, there's going to be seasons of life where you need to prioritize.
But if you don't know purpose of, like, if you're not clear on purposes of schooling, of your school, of your role, you're just caught up in the minutia of every day and you're spinning your wheels. And I think it feels like that to some people. Taking that step back, developing collective, realizing that these things happen over time. But you can't just wait for them to happen. So finding ways that you take initiative, that you're proactive, that you're promoting things that you believe in and that fit with public education values. There's a lot to that. But I do think it's got to be beyond, like, I just show up and go through. This goes back to our initial introduction. Like, we've got to get to that vision. We've got to get to that bigger picture. And we've got to force that time in some ways to say, we're going to sit down as a group 15 minutes a day. And we're just going to chat. And we're going to think about what we could do, and we're going to make some action plans instead of letting the next thing up dictate how we do life. Got to get those copies. Whoosh, got that done. Got to send this email. Got that done. We're all prone to that. I think probably some of our best leaders, those historically who have made the biggest change, have mastered that because they've focused on something much bigger, and they maybe dropped some smaller things. But yeah, that's our answer. But again, practical. Again, please participate. Please.
What are some practical things then? So start an initiative in your school building. I started
participate in one that someone else started or is trying to start.
Or improve, refined, expand. It doesn't have to be big. We had like an inclusive classroom, an inclusive school initiative that was the students with autism in our building who buddied up with the gifted and talented program in our classroom, and they did things like create goodie bags for Special Olympics athletes. It made a difference for those Special Olympics athletes. You can rally and you can do whatever you'd like for local legislation. You can run for a seat somewhere in some capacity to be more involved at that level. You can create service learning opportunities for your students to get involved in something they're passionate about, not necessarily guiding them towards something, but something that they're passionate about. You can give some other ideas.
Can I say one last thing?
Yes. Yeah.
And this is going to rub some people. Maybe not. I traditionally see and hear teachers, some of it's very founded, and some of it I think is a little bit unfounded, but complain about and or have a fear of and or be worried about parents and parent involvement. And I know that that the book, The Smartest Kids in the World and How They Got That Way, I think that's the name of it. The author, do you remember the author's name? Usually I'm good at this. I can't think of it. But in her book, she talks about how in other countries there are some systems where parents are not involved in schooling. And I get that, like in the day-to-day life of schooling, like PTA, sports, who is it?
Amanda Ripley. I remembered before it came up.
Right. And I think that's very valuable. I think those are also different socio-political systems. And like it or not, currently our system has parent involvement and begs for parent involvement. So with that in mind, I think we have to stop being scared of parents and start to think about how can we invite and partner with parents and communities, despite how challenging that feels and is sometimes. I have a really strong belief about this. And I'm wondering what Lisa's face means.
I'm biting my tongue because it's their child. They have the right to be as involved as they want to.
Well,
and it's your ability to have those discussions, to lead them in that professional discourse, to understand what most useful ways they can be involved.
I have had parents physically assault me. I mean that, right? So like whenever someone says this parent, yeah, bring it. I've been there, right? And I there's a little chip on my shoulder when I say that. I understand that, like literally and figuratively, because I've challenged parents, right? And so I was like, come here, go ahead. And I'm not saying that with bravado. I'm saying that, no, I'm really not.
Please don't do that yet, though.
Yeah, and please don't do that. But what I'm saying is, yeah, parents care a lot about their kids, and parents have a serious lack of understanding as to what's going on in schools. And we as a system don't do a great job communicating with parents. There is a history of, just trust us, we got this, right? And there's a history of some parents going, we trust you, take our kid, right? There's all that stuff going on. But I'll tell you, community, partnering with parents, inviting them and extending trust and knowing your stuff. And I really, like, I kind of wanted to curse there and be like, knowing your, but one of the reasons I think that teachers fear parents, and I know they're going to frame it differently, is you're not that confident and don't fully understand what you're doing. So that is a direct challenge to teachers out there who are like, oh, I don't want to deal with parents. To principals right now in this valley who have advised teachers, and this came up on our show last year, to not share resources with parents because it's going to cause more problems than those parents are. That's illegal. Forget about unethical, right? And what the heck is your purpose? Well, my purpose is, I'm banging on the table and shaking the camera. My purpose is to make life easier. Like, again, the curse words are like rattling around in my head.
So glad that they're coming out.
Idealism is like floating around this room. I wish I had my unicorn. I have this,
Anyways.
Alfie. The simple answer is think about your role. Try to find a way to build collective. And start inviting people to work with you instead of pushing people away. Right. That is maybe part of American culture or part of, in some way, or part of American schools. Change that. You want to change that? Start inviting people. Be the one that starts. And I mean that. I don't just mean it philosophically.
You will gain so much. Your students will gain so much. And there's, huge movements that can happen because of those things. The reason why we have now services for our kids with disabilities. But
we just lost 3 viewers during my rant. Yeah, no, we really did.
The reason that we have services for students with disabilities, IDEA came from a group of parents who finally decided that they saw the segregation of their students and rose up. And that's a powerful thing, and educators came alongside them. So there are many things to get involved in, practical ways that you can do that, and then long-term goals. Make yourself some short and long-term goals to make sure that you have the capacity that you need to be able to be effective change. I'm going to read this one more time.
Yeah, do it.
This is the way we shall advance, one voice at a time, explaining what is important about ourselves.
And again, practical application. I love that. So to whom are we explaining? Right? To ourselves first, probably, and then to others. I encourage you to come back with your, hey, AJ and Lisa, or someone else in my life. Well, so here's what I want to do. I have no idea how to get started.
Yes.
That's another really great use of this show and of our community writ large.
Which is also partnering with a university, a local university, which would be a great way to get involved and make a difference.
Across schools, families, colleagues. I'm going to admit something too. I've tried to make a practice, and I'm not great at inviting people into my circle who I do find it hard to work with. I'm not great at it. I'm not trying to say I do this well. One of our colleagues has on their door, speaking of quotes, something that says something about being like-minded. I can't remember what it says exactly, but it's basically...
It's boring.
It's basically we need to find people with those dissenting views, and we need to work with people to try to work toward understanding and community. So come back to us.
Can I end on something?
End.
AJ and I do not agree on everything, and actually probably disagree on more things than we probably discuss on a regular basis. But he has taught me more about.
I don't know if that's true.
He has taught me more about being open-minded than probably anybody else in my life or anybody I've worked with, because he accepts me for who I am and the beliefs that I come with, and the idea that my differences can make a difference, and that's good, and it's beautiful and wonderful. And to have a colleague like that you both disagree on many things but agree for the single purpose that you love kids and you want to make a difference for kids,
and you want
those are the people. Yeah, those are the people that you surround yourselves with.
And Lisa, so yes, and I think the same way about Lisa. Right. I appreciate, and actually most of our colleagues. Yes. I want this to be like a really cheesy moment, but it is already. I would agree. Lisa challenges a lot of things that I believe, and we together and with the rest of our team, we have a great team.
We have a good team.
Every year we talk about like, wow, what if this team didn't exist, and are there other jobs out there? We keep coming back to what a great group this is that we with whom we work.
Right.
Because we do. There's a little bit of like, are you sure? Mm-hmm. And oftentimes Lisa and I will leave work going, I got to think about that one. Let's like talk a couple days from now, because you just challenged my inner core and everything that I learned or thought I believed.
Right.
Find those people.
Those people.
So you were going to end. Yes. And I agree with Lisa, and she does the same for me.
Okay. We're out. I think we're out of time, you guys. We're a little bit, we're like right on the money. 1 minute over now. Okay. Good questions, everybody. We had somebody chime in, live chat. We had quite a few viewers. We're very excited to see you. I've got 6 new questions that showed up during this show. We have so many new questions. It's exciting. We appreciate you guys.
Maybe you all are creating community by being involved.
Oh, it's so exciting.
We have to find a way to connect the people that are interested in this.
We're going to think about this. Instagram and Twitter can start that. I do believe that can be a part where we all come together. So follow us there.
We do have a club on campus for pre-service teachers that involves in-service teachers who have graduated and in-service. So if you want to be more involved in that pre-service, like shoot us a message, because we do social things, we do community things.
Movie night, we host the spelling bee. We've done lots of fun things.
There's going to be teachers recognized.
A way that you can get involved to make a change in your local community.
Yeah, I'm working on doing sort of a pub/restaurant night for philosophical discussions. We've been talking about it with master students for a couple semesters. It's more time, right? And I value that. So stay tuned and give us ideas.
Get involved,
we will be leaders in some of this, but we want you to be leaders too. Invite us to things you're doing.
Our students are watching. Hi,
well, and graduates as well.
We love you guys.
So Teach Talk.
Yeah, we're excited. It was 2 weeks. 2 weeks from now. 2
Wednesdays from now.
7:30 a.m. Instagram and Twitter in the meantime. It was great chatting with you guys.
Yeah. Thank you. I kind of want to say, like, I forget our ending tagline is, honestly, take care of yourselves. Be nice. It's new. Take care of yourselves. Be nice to other people. Work hard and smart. Care about kids. Make a difference.
Care about kids.
We'll see you next time. Thank you. Teach Talk. Love you.